Universe 6 down to its last 4 remaining fighters, that being the Namekians and the Saiyans, Goku finds himself in battle against Caulifla as he engages against her as the two battle as Super Saiyan 2s, with Goku seemingly on edge after having to be weakened by Jiren previous to their battle. Goku focuses on not only combating and teaching Caulifla, but also allowing her to release her inner potential and discovering a new and hidden power that can aid her further in the Tournament of Power, as Goku sets his eyes on battling both Kale and Caulifla. But the question lingers, is Goku biting off a bit more than he could chew? What's going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super episode 113 breakdown review entitled The Repeat Battle Crazy Saiyan Fight, leading into next week's exciting episode of Dragon Ball Super episode 114, which showcases a very interesting turn of events in correlation to both Kale, Caulifla, and Goku's battle. But either way, as we further our way in this review, I do want to go on ahead and remind you guys, if you guys are new to this channel, don't forget to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button alongside enabling all notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel in connection to news, information, updates, and of course discussions. Hashtag Dragon Ball Squad, as I do want to go on ahead and discuss the fusion that was showcased in Dragon Ball Super episode 114's preview, as we finally get to see the birth of Kefla. However, there is something very, very unique in which we will touch up on during our overall preview breakdown review and of course our predictions video, and the idea that this fusion is not made up of the Metamarise fusion, but instead it is the Potara fusion. We see how the fusion of Kale and Caulifla are formulated due to green earrings on their ear. So in case anyone out there is wondering, we get to see how early on in this overall preview, Kale begins to dominate Goku, as Goku doesn't seem to be injured but more or less excited by this, as by the end of the preview we get to see how they combine their strength in attacking Goku to no avail, as we introduce the fusion towards the end. As once they turn around, the one thing that was recognizable more than anything else is the idea that both of the girls are going to use earrings to fuse and combine their powers, which again you have to ask yourself if this is legal, because Potara earrings are considered to be weapons in this overall tournament setting. So either A, the Omni Kings don't care and they want to see a good fight, or B, they completely forgot and thus allowing them to fuse further. So it might be because of Champa and the idea that Champa might give them the earrings and tossing it in their direction. We don't know necessarily as to how they possess the earrings to begin with, but nonetheless we see how they both fuse in creating the new fusion of Kefla. Now before we dive further into this breakdown, I do want to go on ahead and share my overall thoughts and opinion on how I feel about the Universe 6 Saiyans. Now, Kale, Caulifla, and Kaba are their own unique brand of Saiyans having to come from Universe 6. They have their own unique ways of achieving Super Saiyan transformations. They have their own unique ways of expressing themselves in terms of combat, adaptation, in terms of feats and potential. But the one thing I completely disagree with is seeing how quickly a character like Caulifla can hang in there with the likes of Goku. And the only reason why I say this is because if you look at everything that Goku had gone through since the inception of Dragon Ball, going through the Saiyan saga, the Frieza saga, the Cell saga, the Majin Buu saga, his fight with Beerus, Golden Frieza, hit at the Universal Tournament, Goku Black and Zamasu, having to come so far in having to grow in terms of strength and potential, to see him get bested by Caulifla, even though he was in a very weakened state considering the fact that he just fought Jiren, I still don't see how someone like Goku, despite having to be weakened and tired, could have such a difficult time against female Saiyans that have essentially grown exponentially in terms of strength, just seemingly out of thin air. Now, this episode, if anything, conveys the overall relationship that Kale and Caulifla have with each other, but also seeing how Goku is somewhat of like a mentor figure in trying to help these girls out and having to further their chances in surviving in the Tournament of Power, which again, you have to look at it objectively and saying, why would Goku do this considering that his own universe is on the line? I just feel like the relationship aspect of this episode was definitely established. However, looking at it from a broad perspective, I don't think that Goku should have been mentoring or helping these girls out in the least, in having to ring them out essentially due to the idea that his universe and his life is on the line. So it's either him or them in that kind of a situation. But either way, we saw the growth and the exponential potential from both of these girls in this overall episode, as of course we're building towards the upcoming episode Dragon Ball Super episode 114, which of course showcases Kale having to battle Goku. Ultimately, I think at least Super Saiyan 3, as it was shown in this episode, Goku mentioned how he wasn't able to sustain the form, but more or less this episode was told from a perspective of Goku being a teacher and assisting in helping Caulifla tap deeper into her power, as even Whis pointed out that Goku seems to be drawing out Caulifla's true inner power, and the idea that he's possibly helping her in trying to achieve something higher, as Goku even pointed out in this episode that perhaps maybe if Caulifla actually continues to adapt and progress in tapping deeper into her potential, she may actually even exceed Super Saiyan 3, as Super Saiyan 3 was originally foreshadowed, I would have to say, during Dragon Ball Super episode 100 in their first encounter, and now having to fast forward many weeks later, we get to see how this is once again brought up. Even though we don't get to see Super Saiyan 3 necessarily yet, I still stand on the idea that perhaps maybe they're going to give this new fusion of Kefla the Gotenks treatment in allowing this fusion to ultimately learn and possibly control Super Saiyan 3 as did Gotenks, which again would make them a very formidable foe in this tournament setting, considering that not only they have an hour to their fusion since it's a Potara fusion, but also given the fact of their potential, given their overall instincts of improving, this fusion, if anything, might potentially be one of the most deadliest fighters in this overall tournament setting because of their potential alone. Do I agree with this? Absolutely not. Some people will say they would much rather see a Super Saiyan 3 fusion over individual Super Saiyan 3s, while other people believe the opposite in the idea that they should have became Super Saiyan 3s first and then fused into a singular character. Either way, this overall episode garnered itself around Goku teaching them, which it also establishes that even after fighting a base form Goku in the beginning, it looks like she was having a hard time as a Super Saiyan 2, in which gradually, as you pay attention to this episode, we get to see how Caulifla begins to adapt ever so slowly, and not only being able to keep up with Goku, but Goku also acknowledging that if she potentially keeps this up, she could even reach a status beyond Super Saiyan 3, whatever that means. Of course, I really doubt that she will ever have the opportunity to become a Super Saiyan God or a Super Saiyan Blue, as I don't think that anybody in the show, aside from Goku and Vegeta, should be able to obtain this power. I think that by the very end, it's safe to assume that we will get to see more from Caulifla as the tournament progresses. I think that if the fusion wears off, we may see more from potentially both characters as the tournament progresses, but I do think that the focus point is going to be Kale, as by the time the overall episode ended, we got to see how Kale was transforming after seeing Super Saiyan 3 Goku, which is going to lead into their battle next week, as I don't think the fusion is going to be in action during Dragon Ball Super episode 114, but instead, I think that we are going to see the introduction of this fusion before it's in action. Now, the episode did have flaws in my opinion. Number one, having to be Goku utilizing Super Saiyan 3, but yet the entire time they're complaining about preserving and keeping their stamina intact. Meanwhile, Goku goes off and transforms into a Super Saiyan 3. Based on logic alone, Super Saiyan 3 drains so much stamina from the body. I just personally feel it was a dumb thing to do. If anything, hopefully the manga adaptation gets to correct this in seeing Super Saiyan 3 first before seeing Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue, because when this tournament started, we saw Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue before even being introduced to Super Saiyan 3, but the one pro thing about this episode was the fact that after Goku had used Super Saiyan 3, he wasn't able to tap further into that power and using it, because he even said it himself that he did not have the energy or the power to sustain Super Saiyan 3. So depending on if you guys are on the fence about this, I think that going into next week's episode, it's going to be a complete ass pull with Kale and Caulifla, and the only reason why I say this is because number one, aren't the Potara earrings illegal? Number two, because of Goku having to teach them and showing them what Super Saiyan 3 is, are they going to go down the Gotenks route in showcasing Super Saiyan 3 as well? And number three is, what is going to be the outcome of this fusion as we progress on forward? Because we understand based on Gotenks, what we saw in Dragon Ball Z, he was able to obtain Super Saiyan 3 effortlessly during his fight with Buu and having to surprise Piccolo and whatnot. So I completely disagree with the girls having to know Super Saiyan 3 at that, because because we don't know if this fusion is going to get beat down enough to where their only and last reserve is going to be Super Saiyan 3, but considering both of their potentials, considering both of the characters being merged into one, we understand that both Kale and Caulifla are way more powerful than Goten and Trunks ever were in Dragon Ball Z, so this fusion, if anything, is leagues above Gotenks in terms of stature. Now, in terms of Gogeta, there is a possible chance that one day Gogeta could be introduced in the world of Dragon Ball Super in the form of being canon in an arc after this, but for now, it looks like if the Potara earrings are legal, there is also a slight chance that we may also see other fusions as well. Don't quote me on that, because I'm only implying this based on what we're seeing now in the idea that we see Potara earrings in the ring, but the question is, how exactly did they get there? So post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on this being a training episode? Because I completely disagree with Goku having to teach these girls, because it's different with Vegeta in the idea that Vegeta looks at Kabe as another Saiyan, something that where he's very prideful of his people, and of course he hasn't seen any other Saiyan among the ones that he's surrounded with on Earth, so for him it's much more meaningful, whereas opposed to Goku, I'm guessing based on what we're seeing, he seems to be very interested in the idea that Caulifla is just like him, in the idea that she seems to also want to fight to get stronger, as she stated back during episode 112, how she told Kale that she has fear of her own infinite potential, how she's very confident in that. So now we get to see how gradually she was able to keep up with Goku, even though Goku, I would have to say, if he were to really go all out, she wouldn't really stand a chance, but it's because of this idea that Goku has in trying to further his way in, establishing her as a fighter, digging deeper into her potential and trying to establish more of a fundamental basis for her character. I think it's pretty dumb in my opinion. However, I am very curious to see what this fusion is going to do, and of course with the Potaras, we understand that since you're not a Kaioshin, it's not going to be permanent. However, I am very curious in finding out how long this fusion plans on remaining in the overall tournament setting. And also, guys, comment down below as to who you guys believe is potentially going to knock this fusion out of the ring. That's if this fusion takes a KO, because we don't know, if anything, if they're going to last the full hour, which I really doubt they are, because there are approximately 22 to 23 minutes left in this overall tournament setting. So for me, I would definitely love to see Frieza battle this fusion, because as he told Kaba, after he was done with him, he was going to go off and play with his friends. So I think that it's more suitable enough to see this Super Saiyan 3 fusion, if anything, go at it with Golden Frieza, and the idea that for me as a fan, I would love to see Golden Frieza destroy this fusion as an end result. However, for Dragon Ball Super episode 113, I would have to give this episode a 7 out of 10. In terms of action sequences, it was a very solid episode in providing actual great battles between Goku and Caulifla. However, in terms of logic was completely out the window, so we don't really know as to where each individual character stands as of now in terms of power levels. However, we also understand that the power gap and the power levels of these characters are continuously going to shift. So post your comments down below, guys. What are your thoughts on this training episode that was of Goku and Caulifla? What are your overall thoughts on the fusion? Post your comments down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, guys. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all in the overall prediction video. Take it easy, guys. Peace.